Hello and welcome to Cult Movie Club Halloween special. We've got 5 films here, some that you might not have seen, some you may have, that I want to talk about today. So I'm going to start straight away with the fifth, number 5, which is The Guardian. So this is directed by William Friedkin, who directed The Exorcist, which this was nowhere near as successful or as good really, but it's still worth a look. It's basically a young couple who they were looking for a nanny babysitter to look after the newborn. They go through loads of applicants and they end up finding the perfect applicant. But is she though? Things start taking a bit of a weird turn once the employer, and she's got a strange kind of bond with one of the trees out back, which you learn more of during the film. There's a massively gory set piece towards the end where the film just goes full out nuts, basically. But yeah, it's worth watching. It's worth a look. It's not very known. I discovered it on TV late one night about 20 years ago, and I caught it at the end and was just like, what the hell is this? And rediscovered it recently, so definitely worth checking out. Okay, next at number 4, we've got Olivia Assayas's Demon Lover. This is not strictly a horror film. It's like a cyber neo-noir horror kind of thriller. Definitely worth checking this out. It's more of a French film, but it's got English in it, but there's Japanese in it as well. So if you're not into subtitles, then you might as well just stop listening to me here. But if you can cope with that, this is definitely worth watching. Basically, all cutthroat business. This company's trying to buy out this anime porn kind of thing, and the first hour of the film is basically a lot of business and how cutthroat it all is, and it's all quite intriguing. And then in the second half of the film, the narrative structure kind of just totally breaks down, and there's a lot of dreamlike set pieces and a lot of disturbing stuff going on. I watched it and it kind of stayed with me for at least a couple of days afterwards, which is a sign of a good film. I definitely recommend it. It's very similar to David Cronenberg's Videodrome, but kind of more updated with the technology that we live with now. It was made in 2002, so some of the technology in the film is obviously dated, but the subject matter definitely is not, and is more relevant now than probably ever. Definitely check Demon Lover out. Highly recommend. So next we've got Innocent Blood, which is directed by John Landis, director of American Werewolf in London. This is actually quite similar. It's very similar beats to that film, to the point where the American distributors called it a French Vampire in New York. Yeah, so it's a comedy horror. There is a French vampire going around, and she has this kind of rule where any victims, when she munches down on them, basically, she kills them. But she gets approached by this mafia guy, and she has a nibble on him, but gets disturbed halfway through and doesn't follow through and doesn't kill him. And then it just gets really bizarre as he lives on then, and kind of the whole mafia becomes blood-sucking vampires, and she's the only one who can kind of, do anything about it, basically, because it's just nuts. Yeah, definitely, and again, unknown, nowhere near as successful as American Werewolf in London was. I'm not saying it's as good as that, but it's definitely worth a watch. Again, I watched it really late on telly about 20 years ago and wondered what the hell I was watching, and I rediscovered it recently again, like The Guardian. So yeah, check that one out. Next, we've got Wes Craven's The Serpent Rainbow. So this is probably the most well-known of the titles that I'm talking about today, although it's criminally still underrated. A lot of people still don't really know much about it. This is basically one of Wes Craven's best films, behind Nightmare on Elm Street. A lot better than some of the cult stuff from the 70s, which I'm not really into. This is definitely worth watching. It's got Bill Pullman in it. Why would you not watch it? It's got Bill Pullman in it. And there is a torture scene, which is known in this film, involving a nail and a hammer and a chair, which is very disturbing. really good film based on a book, based on the very loose true story, I think, involving voodoo curses and zombification, and it plays on the whole fear of being buried alive, which is it's just terrifying. Obviously, there is a scene involving that, which is really disturbing. The whole thing again has got this kind of dreamlike thing going on because you don't a lot of things are. Is he tripping on these curses that are going on by this crazy guy who's going around, fiddling around with voodoo and stuff like that? Definitely worth checking out. I think it's, like I said before, it's one of Wes Craven's best films. Yeah. So, pick of the day on this one, I think, is Dream Demon. It's probably the least known of all these, and was considered a lost film for at least 20 years. The director, who directed Tommy Lee Jones in the 80s crime thriller Black Moon Rising, directed this. And when it got released, basically the company that distributed it went under, so it kind of got a minimal screening and a VHS release, and then never got re-released ever because it kind of got lost. No one could find the negatives. The director was after the negatives for 20 years and only found them in 2017. And then it got restored and it's got this nice release by Arrow, which is, really nice. And basically, it's really good. It came out in the late 80s. It's a British horror film. And it's kind of cashing in on the Nightmare on Elm Street thing because, those films were coming out at that point every year. And it's like a British take on that. It stars Gemma Redgrave? She was quite good in this. I think this was her first film. Also, well-known British actors Timothy Spall and Jimmy Nail before he started his music career. So they've got parts in this also. Basically about this woman who's marrying this local celebrity, young woman, and she's being targeted by these pretty nasty paparazzi guys, which is Timothy Spall and Jimmy Nail. And she starts having these nightmares. Are they about the life that she's going into, or is there something more sinister about these nightmares that she has? Definitely worth looking at. Pretty good. I saw it back in probably late 90s when it had its VHS release. In my small town that I grew up in, there was every week, I think it was a Monday, there used to be a market store, and you could do like swaps on it on like ex-rental tapes. So if you bought one, you could take it back the week after, pay £1, and you swap it for a different one. And I saw loads of different movies, mainly horror movies, doing that, and I picked this one up one week, and this is why I know about this film. But then obviously it was lost for years, no DVD release, never on telly, nowhere basically. If you could find a VHS tape of it, you was probably paying through the nose for it, and the quality was not even worth looking at basically. So when it did get re-released, and it got released this year, I think it got re-released by Arrow, I was definitely interested in watching it again, and I didn't know what to expect because it had been so long since I'd seen it, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a lot cleverer than I remember it being. I think I understood it more because obviously I'm a lot older, so I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it to any horror fans. It's a bit similar to Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's kind of it's definitely got its own charm. Definitely worth watching. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching this video. I've got a couple more videos to do for the end of the year. One I'm really excited about that I've been planning for a while, so looking forward to doing that. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.